The great sun of Varelia shone brightly over the capital city. Silver towers reached into the sky like frozen lightning. The palace, made of living crystal, sparkled with color as flying carriages passed between platforms. Inside the royal throne room, everything was quiet until the main doors opened. Two guards entered, walking side by side. Between them was a man. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a calm face. His clothes were different from anything the Varelians wore, simple dark armor, worn but strong. His boots were dusty, and his expression serious. Every noble in the room turned to stare. The queen, Arshana of the Varelian Empire, sat on her high throne of sapphire and steel. Her crown shimmered with stars caught in crystal. She looked down at the man as he stopped in the center of the hall. She narrowed her eyes and turned her head slowly. Her voice, though soft, made everyone hold their breath. "Who is that man?" At her side stood Princess Kilara, her daughter and heir. The princess looked nervous. Her long silver hair fell around her shoulders, and her fingers tightened round the folds of her robe. She opened her mouth, but her words came slowly. "He is my H." Before she could finish, a loud noise rang through the palace. Bwoo, bwoo. Red lights blinked along the walls. The sound was a warning, the kind used only in the worst cases. A servant ran in, holding a glowing device. "Your Majesty," he shouted, "unidentified ships have entered the outer defense zone. They are not responding to signals. Our sensors cannot read their design." Queen Arshana stood at once. "Are we under attack?" The servant nodded. "Possibly. They bypassed the outpost without firing. But one outpost is gone. No distress call. Nothing left." Gasps filled the room. The queen looked again at the man. Her voice was cold now. "Human," she said. "You arrive on this day, with war at our gates. Explain yourself." The man stepped forward. His voice was steady. "My name is Commander Elias Reeve. I came to warn you. Those ships are not pirates or traitors. They are machines. We call them the Clear. They are a self-growing army. They consume entire worlds." The nobles began to murmur. Some laughed, others looked scared. One noble shouted, "How would you know? Human, your kind just learned how to leave your own system." Elias didn't react. He kept his eyes on the queen. "I fought them once, on a planet called Mirax 7. We lost half our fleet before we found a way to fight back. The Varelian Empire will not win with lasers and shields alone. You need something else. Something human." The queen raised her hand. Silence fell again. "And what is that?" she asked. "Imagination, unpredictability, instinct." The queen stared at him, clearly unimpressed. "And what makes you think we would trust you, Commander?" Kilara spoke then, her voice strong. "Because I do." All eyes turned to her. Queen Arshana's eyes widened. "You knew him?" "Yes." Kilara said, "I met him during my mission to the neutral zone. He saved my life when our diplomatic escort was attacked by smugglers. He refused reward. He disappeared afterward. But now he's here, and I believe he speaks the truth." Queen Arshana's gaze darkened. "And why did you not inform me of this before?" "I didn't know he would return," Kilara said quietly, "or that he would bring a warning." The queen walked down the steps of her throne. She stopped, just in front of Elias. Though she was shorter, her presence was powerful. "If you lie, human." "If this is some trick," Elias met her gaze. "I have no reason to lie. I came here because your world is in danger. My people, Earth, they don't even know I'm here. But I couldn't ignore this." Just then, another guard rushed in. "The enemy fleet has reached orbit. They are not answering calls. One of their ships is approaching our defense station." The queen turned sharply. "Bring our war council together. Prepare the shield grid." Elias stepped closer. "The shields won't hold. They adapt. But if you give me access to your defense AI, I can upload a strategy protocol. It worked before. It might work again." The queen shook her head. "You expect me to let a human into our systems? He's not just a human." Kilara said, "He's a soldier, a protector. And I trust him." Arshana looked at her daughter for a long moment. Her eyes held questions, but she said nothing. Then she looked at Elias again. You will be watched closely, Commander. But if you can delay these machines, even for an hour, you will earn your place in this court. Elias nodded. That's all I need. The Queen gave the order. The guards led Elias toward the main command tower. As he passed Kilara, their eyes met for a second. She gave him a small nod, and he returned it with the smallest smile. Outside the palace, the sky began to change. Distant stars dimmed as black. Shapes covered them. The battle had not yet begun, but the game had. And for the first time in centuries, the fate of the Varelian Empire rested in human hands. The command tower stood tall above the Varelian palace, shining like a crystal spear. From here, the entire capital and much of the sky could be seen. Inside, everything was silent except for the soft humming of machines and flashing screens. Commander Elias Reed stood in front of the main control panel. Around him were Varelian officers, dressed in long robes with glowing lines that showed their rank. They looked at him with suspicion. Some whispered, some frowned, but none stopped him yet. Princess Kilara stood beside Elias. She had convinced the Queen to allow him temporary access to their systems. The Queen agreed only because the alien fleet had destroyed 3 outposts in the last hour. There was no time to argue anymore. Begin, said Kilara softly. Elias nodded. He placed a small chip into the console. A thin blue light spread across the screen. Strange symbols appeared different from Varelian code. The officers around him became tense. What is that? Asked a tall officer named Rethan, a human tactical AI. Elias replied. It doesn't control your systems. It just observes and gives advice. You expect us to trust your AI, Rethan said sharply. Elias didn't look up. If I wanted to take control, I wouldn't be asking for permission. Kilara stepped forward. Enough. Let him work. Every second we waste puts our world in more danger. The officers fell silent, though they still looked unhappy. Elias tapped the console. A large holographic map appeared above the table, showing the solar system. Tiny red dots moved quickly, each one a clear ship. The main fleet was forming a wall between the outer planets and Varelia. Elias pointed at the pattern. They're not here to talk, he said. This formation is called a net sweep. It's designed to trap and consume anything that runs. Consume? Kilara asked. Yes, the clear feed on matter, metal, rock, biology. It doesn't matter. They don't conquer. They harvest. The officers began to whisper again, this time with fear. But we have the strongest shields in the sector, Rethan said. Even Earth could not break through. Elias turned to him. Your shields are strong, but they're predictable. The clear adapt. They study the way you defend, then change their attacks. Every time you repeat a move, they learn from it. So, how do we fight them? Kilara asked. Elias zoomed in on the map. We use something they don't understand: human creativity. He entered a series of commands. New dots appeared, blue this time, forming strange patterns. Some moved straight toward the enemy, while others curved in odd ways. The officers stared in confusion. This isn't a traditional battle plan, Elias said. These units don't act like soldiers. They act like distractions, traps, and decoys. But it looks like madness, Rethan muttered. Exactly, Elias said. It's chaos, and that's why it works. Kilara smiled a little. She had seen Elias fight once before. He didn't just follow orders, he invented the battlefield. Just then, a new warning flashed on the main screen. Enemy ships entering. High orbit, shouted one technician. They're preparing to fire. We need time to activate the defense grid, said another. Elias looked at Kilara. Then let's buy it. He turned to the officers. I'll need access to 6 drone-launched bays, control over tactical decoys, and 10 interceptor units. I can lead them from a remote pilot station. You go out there, Kilara asked, eyes wide. He nodded. Someone has to lead the distractions. They need to believe I'm a real target. The Queen's voice suddenly came through the speakers. Commander Elias, she said. Are you truly willing to risk your life for a people that barely trust you? Elias looked up at the ceiling as if she could see him. Trust doesn't matter. Survival does, and if we win, maybe, your people will learn something about mine. There was a pause. Then the Queen said simply, "Permission granted." Within minutes, Elias was suited up in a light exo-armor, strong, fast, and flexible. Not as sleek as Varelian suits, but full of human custom tech. His helmet locked into place with a click, and the visor lit up with blue HUD symbols. He entered the drone control bay. The doors opened, showing a huge open space with dozens of small craft, each about the size of a car. Elias stepped into the pilot sphere, where he could control all units with his thoughts and gestures. "Ready," he said into the comms. Keeler's voice came back. "We'll be watching. Good luck." The drone doors opened. Outside, space was dark and quiet, but not empty. Hundreds of sharp, black ships floated silently above the planet. The clear had arrived. They moved like a swarm, spreading out across orbit. Suddenly, blue flashes lit up from the palace. Elias's drone shot forward, drawing the attention of the enemy ships. He moved them in strange patterns, zigzagging, looping, diving between clear ships. The enemy followed, and just like that, the trap had begun. Elias whispered to himself, "Let's see if machines can dance." The sky above Varelia turned into a battlefield. Elias's drones moved like shadows across the stars, pulling the clear ships away from the defense towers. His plan worked. The machines followed his decoys instead of attacking the city directly. Inside the palace command room, Princess Keelara stood in front of the main screen. Her eyes stayed locked on Elias's signal. Blue dots on the screen showed his drones dancing between enemy ships. Red lights flashed every time one was destroyed. "He's losing units," said Officer Rethan. "He won't last long." Keelara shook her head. "He doesn't need to. He only needs to buy us 10 more minutes." The room was tense. Varelian commanders stood round the table, waiting for Queen Arshana to make the next move. She walked in slowly, her long royal cape trailing behind her. "What is the status?" she asked. "Our main shield is charging. 4 minutes left," said one technician. "And the human?" "He's still fighting, Your Majesty," said Keelara quietly. Queen Arshana looked at her daughter. "Fighting or showing off?" Keelara turned to her mother. "He's risking his life to protect us. Doesn't that mean something?" Arshana's voice was calm but sharp. "It means he is brave, but it does not mean he is loyal. A single act of courage cannot erase what history remembers. Humanity has always wanted more land, more power, more war. Elias isn't like that." Keelara replied. The Queen raised an eyebrow. "You speak as if you know him well." Keelara looked away, her voice softer. "I do." For a moment, silence filled the room. Queen Arshana folded her hands. "Did he influence you during your diplomatic mission?" "No," Keelara said quickly. "He saved me. That's all. But what happened after that was my own choice." "Choice?" the Queen repeated. Keelara met her eyes. "I asked him to meet me again. I wanted to know more about him, not just as a soldier, but as a person." The Queen's face was unreadable. "So that is why you tried to say something earlier when I asked who he was?" Keelara nodded. "I was going to say, my hero." A deep silence followed. The officers looked at one another. No one dared to speak. Then, a loud warning broke the moment. "Enemy ships approaching Sector 9. Shouted a guard. "They've broken past the outer net," another officer added. Keelara turned back to the screen. "Where's Elias?" A red circle appeared. His last 3 drones were surrounded. The Clear had changed tactics. They were no longer chasing. They were trapping. Elias's voice came through the comms, strained but steady. "They're adapting faster than I expected. I'll try to break through." Static. The screen flickered. "Signal lost," shouted a technician. Keel air single quotes as heart stopped. "No. Elias." The Queen stepped forward. "Bring up the camera feed from Sector 9. A view from an orbital satellite appeared. A burning field of drones, metal debris, and enemy ships filled the screen. At the center, a single escape pod moved slowly toward the planet. Keelara gasped. "It's him? He survived?" Rethan asked, surprised. The Queen looked closer. "Send a recovery team." Moments later, Elias's escape pod landed in a secured bay. Guards and medics rushed to it. The doors opened slowly. Elias stepped out, his armor scorched and cracked. His helmet was gone, and his face was bleeding slightly. But he was alive and smiling. Back in the command room, Kilara ran out without a word. Queen Arshana stayed behind, deep in thought. Later that evening, Elias sat on a bed in the palace infirmary. A bandage was wrapped around his arm, and a medical drone checked his vitals. He looked tired but relaxed. The door opened. Kilara entered, alone. "You're okay," she said. Relief in her voice. Elias smiled. "Barely. But yes," she sat beside him. "You saved us. Your plan worked. The shield is up now. We drove the clear back from orbit. They'll return," Elias said. "They always do. But now you know how to fight them." Kilara looked at him for a moment. "Why did you really come back, Elias?" He paused. "Because I remember what you said. Back in the neutral zone, you said Varelia could be more than a proud empire. It could be a hope for other species. I wanted to believe that." Kilara blushed. "And was I part of that reason?" Elias gave a small nod. "You were the first reason." Their eyes met. The room felt quiet, even though machines still hummed in the background. Kilara smiled. "When my mother asked who you were, I couldn't say it." "I know," Elias said softly. "But I wanted to. I wanted to say something too," he said. "Back when I saw you again on the tower. But I wasn't sure if I still had a place here." "You do now," she whispered. And for the first time, Elias took her hand in his, gently. No words were needed. Outside the window, stars began to shine again. The battle was not over, but something stronger had begun. The days that followed were filled with tension and preparation. The clear fleet had pulled back for now, but their presence still hung heavy over Varelia like a dark cloud. The palace buzzed with activity as engineers and soldiers worked together to repair damaged defenses and strengthen the shield grid. Commander Elias Reeve moved quickly between the war rooms and the lab. He was no longer just a visitor. He was a key part of the defense. His human way of thinking brought new ideas that surprised even the smartest Varelian scientists. Kilara watched him carefully. He seemed calm but focused, his eyes always scanning data and searching for new ways to outsmart their enemy. One afternoon, as Elias studied the star maps, Kilara approached him quietly. "Do you think we can win?" she asked out. Elias looked up and smiled softly. "We have to. The clear are relentless. But they only follow patterns. Humans, we don't always follow patterns." She nodded slowly. "Your unpredictability, you said it was important." "It's more than that," Elias said. "It's about creativity. When machines expect a certain move, we change the game." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the palace. The battle stations lit up with flashing red lights. Enemy fleet detected approaching from the northern system. A technician shouted. Elias grabbed his helmet and turned to Kilara. "Get to the command center. I'll lead the intercept." She nodded, running toward the bridge. The clear ships came fast, sleek and black like shadows against the stars. But this time, Elias was ready, using a new tactic. He split the fleet into smaller groups. Some ships acted as decoys, drawing enemy fire, while others moved in close to deliver precise strikes. His drone zipped between the clear ships, firing energy blasts that disabled enemy engines and weapons. The Varelian pilots followed his lead, coordinating attacks with precision and courage. On the command bridge, Kilara's heart pounded as she watched the fight unfold. "Elias's tactics are working," she shouted. "We're pushing them back." The queen entered quietly, standing beside her daughter. She watched the screen with narrowed eyes. "This human strategy is effective," the queen admitted softly. Kilara smiled. "He's teaching us to think differently." The battle raged for hours. Some drones were lost, and some Varelian ships were damaged. But Elias's plan held strong. At one point, a massive clear warship appeared, a black tower with sharp edges and glowing red cores. "That's their flagship," Elias said, eyes narrowing. "If we take it down, the rest will retreat." The queen nodded. "Do it." Elias led the charge. His drones darted around the flagship, confusing its sensors and firing at weak points. Varelian ships joined in, focusing their fire. The flagship shuddered under the assault, sparks flying from damaged sections. Suddenly, the flagship released a pulse of energy that knocked out many drones. Elias's suit shook, but he stayed in control. "We can't give up now," he said into his comms. Keeler's voice came back, steady. "We believe in you." With a final burst, the drones disabled the flagship's core. The massive ship began to drift, losing power. The clear fleet turned and fled. Cheers erupted in the command center. The queen smiled faintly but said nothing. Later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Keelara and Elias walked side by side under glowing trees. "You changed everything," she said softly. "We changed everything," Elias corrected. Keelara looked at him, her eyes shining. "Thank you for believing in us." He smiled. "It was easy to believe in you." But beneath his smile, Elias carried a secret worry. The battle was won, for now, but he knew the clear would return, stronger, faster, and smarter. And next time, they might bring something no one was ready for. The victory was short-lived. The celebrations in the palace were still quiet when a chilling discovery shook the royal court. Keelara was in the research wing, reviewing recent data, when a sudden alarm echoed through the halls. "Unauthorized signal detected," a technician called out. Keelara's heart pounded as she hurried to the command center. The queen and her advisors were already gathered, faces tense. "What is this signal?" Queen Arshana demanded. "It's coming from within the palace," the lead scientist replied. "An ancient AI core embedded in our systems is sending a biosignature beacon to the clear fleet." The room fell silent. Elias stepped forward, eyes sharp. This explains how the clear knew exactly where to attack. But who would do this? Keelara asked, her voice shaking. The queen's expression hardened. "We must find the traitor." Suddenly, the doors burst open. The High Chancellor, a stern Varelian man named Velen, strode in. His eyes were cold. "You accuse me," he said calmly. "I have served this empire for decades." "Your decades of service include betrayal," the queen snapped. "You activated the beacon to invite the clear here." Velen's lips curled into a cruel smile. "The clear offer power beyond your understanding. I will rebuild the empire stronger than ever." Guards moved forward, but Velen raised a hand. "I have prepared a failsafe." With a wave of his hand, the palace trembled. The lights flickered. Security doors slammed shut, trapping the royal family. Elias and the council in the underground vault beneath the palace. "We are trapped," Keelara shouted. Elias's voice was calm but urgent. "We need to find the failsafe control panel. It should be nearby." They moved through narrow corridors, the walls closing in around them. Keelara held Elias's arm tightly. "This was a trap," Elias said. "Velen planned this all along." After what felt like hours, they found the control room. A large panel blinked with red warning lights. Velen's voice echoed over the comms. "You cannot stop me. The Empire will fall, and the clear will rise." Elias scanned the controls. "I can disable the trap, but it will take time." Keelara's eyes filled with tears. "We don't have time." Elias looked at her and smiled gently. "You must lead the fight when I can't." Keelara nodded, feeling a sudden strength inside her. Suddenly, the vault shook violently. Debris fell from the ceiling. The failsafe was destroying the chamber. Elias worked quickly, fingers moving over the panel. Then, Velen's voice came again, harsher this time. "I will end this empire and all who stand with it." Elias took a deep breath and pressed the final sequence. The locks disengaged with a heavy clang. The doors slowly opened. They escaped just as the vault collapsed behind them. Outside, chaos reigned. Clear ships had begun a new assault. Keelara looked at Elias, her voice strong. "It's time to fight back." Elias nodded. "But this time, we fight with everything." The skies over Varelia burned with the light of battle. The enemy ships had returned, fiercer than before. The clear swarmed like a black storm, striking without mercy. The royal fleet, though brave, was stretched thin. On the command bridge, Princess Keelara stood tall, her face calm but determined. She wore the silver armor of her house. its edges catching the glow of the battle screens. Round her, the commanders awaited her orders. Elias Reed stood beside her, his human presence a sharp contrast to the elegant Varelians. His eyes were tired, but burning with a fierce resolve, despite recent dangers. His faith in the people of Varelia had only grown. "This is it," Elias said softly. "We must end this now." Kilara nodded. "We fight as one, for our people, for our future." The queen's voice came over the comms. "My daughter, remember your training. Lead with courage and wisdom." The battle began. Elias led a squadron of drones in daring strikes, weaving through enemy lines to hit the clear flagship's weak points. The Varelian ships moved with precision. Following his commands, the flagship shook violently, but it fought back with a powerful energy blast that knocked many drones out of the sky. Elias's suit rattled from the shock, but he pushed forward. Suddenly, an alarm blared. "Warning. Intruder detected in the palace." Keeler's eyes widened. "What?" "Velen's last trap," Elias said grimly. He left a hidden core inside. "It's trying to take over the palace systems." Keeler's heart raced. "We can't lose the palace. It's the heart of the empire." She turned to the Queen's Guard captain. "Secure the palace now. Protect the royal family as soldiers. Rush to defend the halls." Keelara and Elias focused on the battle outside. With one final push, Elias's drones fired a concentrated blast at the flagship's core. The massive ship exploded in a shower of sparks and fire. The remaining clear ships broke formation and fled. Cheers erupted across the fleet. Back in the palace, the hidden core was neutralized by the guards, and Velen was captured. Later, in the Great Hall, Queen Arshana stood beside Kilara and Elias. The court was silent, waiting for the queen's words. She looked at Elias closely, her gaze full of meaning. "Who is that man?" she asked softly. The same question from the day he arrived. Kilara smiled and took Elias's hand. "He is my hero, my protector, and soon, my husband." The queen stepped forward and placed a ceremonial circlet on Elias's shoulder. Then, "I welcome you to the Empire, Prince Elias of Earth." The court erupted in applause. Elias looked around, his eyes shining with pride and hope. In that moment, humanity and Varelia were no longer strangers. They were united stronger together, and the future was theirs to shape.